Welcome to The Point of View. Today we are coming to you from outside the studio. We are at the home of Professor Frimpong Boateng, a man who's achieved many things. First black person to do a heart transplant, 1985. Set up the Cardiothoracic Center in 1992, ran Kolebu in 2002, ran for president in 2007, now is a retired politician who's having trouble with this former role as IMSIM boss. We'll be talking to him about a letter he's written to Ghana's next president. If you like this video, kindly subscribe to The Point of View on YouTube and share with your followers. Welcome back. So tonight my guest is Professor Frimpong Boateng, immediate past Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, the chairman of the IMSIM, that very interesting committee that was set up to deal with illegal mining. We are talking about a letter he's penned to the next president of Ghana. Prof, thanks for inviting us home. Good evening.
Thank you for having me on your program.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, by God's grace. Yes.
So I noticed you wrote a very nice letter to somebody we don't know yet. That's very interesting, because usually you write a letter to people you know. We don't know who's going to be president in 2025, yet you decide to write to him. Why are you doing that?
You know, because it's going to be a Ghanaian.
Okay.
And a male.
So far?
So far.
We don't know if a female is interested yet.
Yes.
Which is why. So, but why did you write this letter?
So that you consider certain issues that have bearing on our survival as a nation. It's very important to me. So that we move forward. We move forward on the path of sustainable development. Yes. So people begin to have hope in us, in our systems.
But are you in a position to write this? Because people would think you're already involved in many things. For example, after the whole controversy over the reports on galamsey, there are some lawsuits, the OSP is investigating. All those matters have not concluded. So you are still in transition, aren't you?
No, I'm not in transition. I'm solid on the ground, and I think even prisoners can voice their views, for people to hear what they say. So everybody, no matter where you are, can let your views be heard.
But aren't you preoccupied mentally by the various things that are happening in terms of the tenure, the issues that we know of quite?
Mentally, I don't think so, because the average human being does not use even 10% of his mental capacity. So we have always excess capacity. That should not be the issue. The willingness to do it, that should be the issue.
I see. But in terms of the legal issues, are you encumbered by your lawyers not to speak on specific issues? Have you been advised to keep quiet? Because again, in Ghana, when somebody is involved in certain things, they may tell you that go quiet for 2 years and then come back later.
No, I'm not encumbered on anything. I mean, I can speak on anything.
Even including the matters for which some people have sued you?
No, I'll not go there, because they are irrelevant. They are not important for the nation. We want to discuss things that are bearing on our survival, not things that divide us.
But there's always the question of the person speaking and his own track record. So it will be in your interest for the matters to be resolved, so that whatever you say will not be tainted by any suppositions of guilt or anything like that.
If we go according to that, then all of us will be quiet for years and not say anything or do anything. I think that I have the right to speak on important national issues.
I see. So let's come to this letter. This is a missive you wrote. With what intention? What really is the thrust of this missive?
Because we seem to be on the same spot, and in many ways also walking backwards as far as our development is concerned. We are, as I said, we are not on the path towards sustainable growth, the path that will give young people hope. I mentioned that talking to about 100, we talked to about 10 university students. None of them will tell you, I don't see my future here. I wish I had a chance to go out. When you have a situation where 90% of young people don't see their future, don't trust our institutions, then we are on a very dangerous path. So we need to be discussing this all the time. I look at my children, my grandchildren, and when I'm told by, very important economists that if we do things right now, it might take about 30 years before we get some semblance of normality and we can move forward. You know, somebody even said that looking at where we are now, we might not even make it. So I get worried when I hear some of these things and then ask myself, what can we do? And there are a lot of things we could do because you are very smart people. When now we have so many people in all areas, technicians, engineers, you know, all professions, and they are there, they are not being used. You know, post-independence, the president wanted to do many things, but didn't have people to fall on. So he had to start training schools and training institutions. That is not the case now. The case now is that we have the people there, but you are not using them. The research institutions, CSIR, Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, all the universities, and some individual companies, they have the capacity, but they are not being challenged to do what they should do or can do.
So at what point did you realize that we are not making progress?
Forever. You know, since I came to this country, I wrote about these things when I was in Germany, and when I have the opportunity to address issues, I bring some of these issues in. And I think, I'm sure you know some of them. I've been talking about these things for a very long time.
Because in 2003, you gave the inaugural lecture at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. That's 20 years ago next month.
Yeah.
So when I have that speech, and then I read your letter, and I can say about 80% of what you are saying in this letter, similar to what you said in 2003.
Yes, it means that things haven't changed much. Otherwise, I would not have mentioned these things, or we will not have seen that this is important. Because people call me and say, well, this letter is important, we all need to sit down and talk about it. Somebody suggested that we translate it into some Ghanaian languages. Well, that is for somebody to do it. I mean,
so that's interesting. So you agree that a lot of the points you raised in that lecture at the academy are still valid, because in that letter you were arguing, in that lecture you were arguing for a technology-driven development.
Yes.
And you were talking about how technology was central to the development and long-term structural change in the economy, and that a country that could not feed, shelter, clothe, heal, or defend itself could not survive.
That is true.
That same construction is in this letter you've written.
Yes. You have to repeat it for emphasis.
20 years later?
Yes.
But that's terrible, because I mean, so that 2003, you had just taken over as the CEO of Kolebu. You had then, 2006, tried to run for president, then served as a minister from 2017 to 2021.
Yes.
And you're telling me that 20 years since you gave that lecture, not much has changed?
No. Significantly, I mean, groundbreaking change, transformational change. This one I'm talking about.
Why is that?
I don't know, because we are not focusing on the things that matter. Now, let me say it this way, put it this way. If you have a country that imports almost everything, from toothpick to aircraft, then we are in trouble.
Well, so 20 years ago, still same today.
It's still the same. And the population is increasing. You know, when we started, Nkrumah started this industrialization project, we were by just 7.2, 7.5 million people in Ghana. And now we are 32, 33. You know, in a few years' time, we'll be 50. And these age-old problems are still with us. And imagine the social tension. We say Africa is the country, the continent with young people and so on as an asset. If we don't take care, the youth will be a disadvantage. Because, see, they have dreams they can no longer afford to postpone. That is my worry. I mean, I have children, I have grandchildren, and I talk to them. We discuss things. And I know what they tell me. So I'm not making things up. I am very concerned.
But you've been part of the story, haven't you?
Yes, but I tried to effect a lot of changes, and I did a lot in the 4 years that I was minister.
Like what?
Now, for example, we completed the conversion of the communication satellite in Kuntunsi to a radio astronomy device, so that the scientists there can look at the universe, study the universe, and so on. And then I personally got involved with Viasat to give us an Earth observation satellite. That's the second one in Kuntunsi that allows Ghana to observe the space, and then including the seaboard. So that before, ministers and agencies were buying satellite pictures from companies. Agric will need satellite pictures, Lands Ministry, EPA, roads and highways and so on. People who need, but now we have our own satellite that can give us what we want about Ghana, including observing the sea, our sea zones, yes. And then I started the construction, and the president approved the construction of a foundry and machine tool center that was giving us the capacity to mold things. Foundry is basic. I mean, for example, I'll give you a few examples. When we are constructing roads, the drain covers, and then communication, the P&T covers and so on, chassis of vehicles, rims of things, molds, and this is the basic. We started that thing. And then also a machine tooling center that will give you the capacity to manufacture machine parts and machines and spare parts. It was started to a certain point, and then when I left, it was all at a standstill.
So you've mentioned three things.
Yes.
The Kuntunse satellite,
Yes.
the Earth satellite addition at Kuntunse, and the foundry and machine tooling center.
Yes. Let me tell you another thing that we did. On my many trips to the north, I noticed that the perennial flooding of the north after opening of the Bagay Dam spillways was not due to the volume of water coming from Burkina Faso, but because certain tributaries of the white water, red water, had been silted for years. There was absolutely it was full with sand, no water, it couldn't take any volume of water. So we took excavators there and dredged those Nabogo, Kopon River, and the white water itself. And then since then, Ghanaians have even forgotten about the flooding in the north. How many times have we heard about those devastation that went on during the...
So you are saying that the silting is what has...
very, very important, yes. And then also, we built a waste-to-energy plant with the Germans that deals with waste and then energy production using solar energy, biogas, and pyrolysis to create an energy system. And that dealt with the waste in the Achimangobija district, and also dealt with power so that we could generate power for industry. The Germans were planning to replicate this in all the 10 regions. Those days, there are only 10 regions. I don't know whether they will still do it, but that first project has been completed.
Is this publicly owned?
It's publicly owned.
But it's just in Ashanti?
Yes, but it's supposed to be replicated. And you see, the good thing is that we have 3 German universities there, and we have 3 Ghanaian universities, Kumasi Technical University, Sunyani University for Natural Resources, Energy and Natural Resources, and Legon, Accra Technical School. The students are there doing research. My aim was that in about 5-6 years' time, we should be in a position to replicate some of these energy systems, to deal with energy problems and also to deal with the waste.
So why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't this been continued? Because you did it in Achimangobija. As far as I know, it's still only there.
I'm not there. I left it. So
but if you have to be there for something to happen, that's not embedding, because don't forget that leadership's most important job is to be irrelevant, so that if you are not there, the institution you build or what you start can continue. I
know, but you see, it's a process. You have to engage universities, government. You need the government machinery to interact with colleagues in and out of the country. I don't have that capacity to do that. And I believe that, of course, I also give my handing over notes to the next person, and he's aware of all these things.
Yeah, but we need to push that a bit more, because whilst I agree that there are government things that need to be done, we are talking about the responsibility of the next president, talking about leadership.
Yes.
So you've listed things that were initiated by you, some of which have continued and some of which have not. And I'm saying to you, is that not part of a leadership failure, in the sense that a leader's job is to bring people along? So for example, whoever your deputies were, your chief directors, there's a system you create that even though Frimpong Boateng is not the minister, the thing is still running on the basis of the salience of the idea.
Yeah, but then you go to the ministry, the chief director is no longer there, this one is not there, the only person who is new is the minister. And it's my job to hand over the notes to them. But you see, I mean, Bernard, you cannot do much as a minister that is no longer in government to say we are going to push that the project we started should go on. You know, because we all have our temperaments and we have our connections and how we do things. You know, things are not straightforward where you press the button and then the path is there for you to work on. In your country, as you said, we have different ways of doing things.
No, I'm asking this because of your leadership. In 2006, you wanted to be president. And I know that prior to that, you had set up, indeed, 92. You came back to set up the Cardiothoracic Center, started the Ghana Heart Foundation. And then, of course, in 2002, you then ran the center, all right? Before you, so what's your leadership approach? What's your concept of leadership?
Concept of leadership is to show the path, get people around you, and then create a way so that the enterprise will be sustainable when you're no longer there. And this is what I do all the time, everywhere I go, to make sure you are no longer relevant. But that's really not easy, because we all have our talents, how we do things, and the next person may not even share your ideas. I mean, they may have other interests, you know. They may not be able to sacrifice the way you sacrifice. You know, I mean, for example, when I came down from Germany, I even didn't bring any household items. You know, I used my money to buy medical equipment to start that center. Who would do that? You know, the government was not prepared to put up a building for the Germans. Gave us money for the equipment, but they said they are not going to vote for us. So I had to start with my own money, get others to help. Then we built the center. Who would do that in this day and age? You know?
How is the center running? What's the state of the Cardiothoracic Center?
Well, I don't know much. I mean, I knew they had problems, but gradually they are being addressed. That's what I will say for now. There were quite a number of issues that had to be addressed, and they have been addressed now.
Do you think you should have stayed as an excellent surgeon? 1985, you conducted the first heart transplant, the black man in the whole world to do it. So you have gifted hands. If you look at your foray into setting up the cardio center, trying to run it, running for president, becoming a minister, and some would say your inglorious exit from politics. If you had the chance, would you have said, maybe my gift is an excellent scientist, not an institution runner or a political leader?
No, or in all. I mean, yes, I know my job well as a surgeon, and I've done it all the time. I never left surgery. Even as a minister, I was going to the hospital to operate, and I do it now, even now. So I keep on saying that if you want something done, give it to a busy person, because you always have time to do those things. Some people can do many things at the same time, and I think I can count myself as one of them. I mean, at some point, I was the director of the National Cardiothoracic Center, chief executive of Fulebu, and head of department of surgery, and president of the Ghana Red Cross, and chairman of the National Public Utility Regulatory Commission. So, if you manage, of course, I had to give some of them away, you know, but as I said, don't limit yourself to one thing and this. That thinking is what is keeping us, you know, down sometimes. You know, to open your minds, because the brain capacity is there. If you're not lazy, you can do many things at the same time. I'm not saying that crowd yourself, the master, what is it?
Jack of all
trades and master of none. No, that's what I'm saying. But there are people who can do a lot for the sake. And you know that I did all these things not for money or for anything. These are all public service just because I want to help this nation. And if at any time there was somebody else who could do it, then I'll quit and then let that person continue.
But do you not think your foray into public political leadership, and I use political very intentionally because you've done public leadership already, Kolebu, Cardio Center, which are public, non-political, but your foray into public political, ministerial, has been less remarkable.
Very much. I mean, the things that I did as a Minister of Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation were fantastic. I mean, I don't think any minister in that ministry ever did what I did. So the galamsey thing was just something outside my main occupation or my main duties as minister. That was to chair a committee made up of about 10 ministers. So I don't think, I'm very happy I went into it so that I know I did my, if I not gone into politics, I've been very sad. So maybe I could have done it and, you know, but now I've been there, I put in all the effort, so I know how it works. And then people also should learn from that experience that if you want to go there, this is what may happen to you, and then you may take a decision.
Do you regret accepting the IMSIM chairman role?
I don't regret, because in fact, we succeeded in our primary function. You see, when we started, I don't even want to go there.
No, I just want to know,
no,
because it's basically your claim that you've not failed in that level of leadership.
We didn't fail, in the sense that we were told that small-scale miners were responsible for the damage. And so we engaged them. There were thousands of them. And we helped them do many things. For example, they said when they applied for permits from the Minerals Commission, it took years, sometimes 10 years, and they may not even get a permit. They entered the bush to do their mining. They didn't know how to mine sustainably. And so we set up a program, prepared a software called galamsey, that when properly applied will allow them to get their licenses within 3 months, engaging Minerals Commission, EPA, Forestry Commission, and Ghana Water Resources Commission. So we did that, and within a year and a half or so, we had regularized all the small-scale miners. They were happy mining, nobody was harassing them. They were doing and 4,000 of them were sent to Takwa to learn sustainable mining. So that job was done. But after that, then we noticed that there were some bigger people with tons of containers, with big people behind, who were in the bush and who were doing the things that we're doing. And when we tried to engage those ones, and then all these troubles came.
So we must distinguish between regular small-scale miners and business interests in not large scale, but larger than small scale. How do you characterize that?
No, they say they are large scale miners, in the sense that yes, they have big concessions, but the technology was small scale technology. I think people use.
So they are big concessions, but small scale technology.
Small scale technology.
So in this sense, they are small scale miners.
Small scale miners with big concessions,
with big concessions,
big money,
but they are bigger money.
Bigger money, influential people behind, and who could not be controlled because of their business and political connections.
So the problem is not ordinary young men from mining communities going into other people's concessions.
No.
It's more well-established business,
yes,
using small-scale mining technology,
yes,
on large tracts of land.
And then degrading the environment, because they could degrade acres in a few hours. Because those small-scale miners may stay on a 25-acre land for years. But these ones, with so many excavators and Chinese helping them, are able to destroy large tracts of land within a very short time. And that's what we couldn't control, but that was not part of our original...
And this you only found out after you became chairman of IMSIM. So it means when you were Minister of Environment, you didn't know this. The level at in this description you've given me was not known to you when you were just an ordinary minister.
No, even when we started the work controlling the galamsey work, we didn't know. But it was later on. I mean, when you go to the bush, you engage people, and then these things become apparent, and then you try to find ways of dealing with them.
Well, on the point of view, talking to Professor Frimpong Boateng, this is more like his reflections. He's written a letter to the next president of Ghana, and he says the developmental challenge is more serious today than it was. He thinks that 20 or so years, indeed 30 years of NDC MPP have not really transformed the country. And he thinks the next president must tell Ghana exactly how he intends or she intends to transform the country. We'll pick more on those thoughts when we come back. Stay with us.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo, order anything, we deliver in minutes.
I just took a shower above the clouds. You know why? Because this is the Emirates A380.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Emirates Premium Economy. One day, all airlines will have seats like this. Fly Emirates, fly better.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're talking to Professor Frimpong Boateng. Well, how do I describe him? Former Minister for Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, but many things he's done. CEO of Kolebu in the past, head of Cardiothoracic Center, first black man to do a heart transplant, 1985. Where were you? He's written a letter to the next president of Ghana. I'm going to read the first 4 paragraphs of the letter for his comment. It says, Ghana has not done as well as it should have done since President Kwame Nkrumah was unconstitutionally ousted from office through a military coup by the NLC, February 24, 1966. Ghana has had 3 other interruptions of government. The present Fourth Republic, dominated by the NDC and the MPP, has not brought the transformational change that will put the country on a path of sustainable development and prosperity for its people. I dare say that the fight ahead of Ghana is greater than the fight for political independence, and it cannot be won with leaders who lack the zeal, commitment, conviction to confront their own demons and other forces and headwinds that are against the development of the country. It is always said that one cannot reinvent the wheel, and I believe in that old adage. I present here examples of what happened elsewhere on this planet not too long ago. I personally believe that the country can make progress when we get the leaders who exhibit the qualities in the examples that follow. Very powerful intro. Serious claim you are making that the fight on our hands is more serious than the fight for independence. That's a very big thing to say.
Oh, yes. You know, political independence, we were fighting against the British. There were a few of them in this country, and in Choboy, you know, they will change. But if you are fighting against yourself, you know, against your own demons and against forces that you cannot well define, character, attitudinal things, it's very difficult because you don't really know, define who are the enemies and fight among political parties, tribal issues, religious issues, not so much. But I find that it is difficult, how do you use your universities, your research institutions, your academies of sciences and arts and sciences? These are all fights that we have to fight. And sometimes I ask myself, why do we have universities in this country? Free education, they go to universities. What plans do we have for them? So we have to define all these things. And how sometimes democratic principles can be misused as dictatorial instruments. Because in democracy, we are supposed to prove everything. You can't just say, this man has done that, this woman has done that. Prove it. But how do you do that? But then you see the results of corruption, because we cannot hide the consequences of corruption, incompetence, and mismanagement. It will appear. We can hide them, but it will appear. So that if after 20, 40 years we are not making headway, we haven't had any civil war, we haven't had any drought, we haven't had any natural catastrophe, and we are in this state, there must be something wrong.
And what is wrong is what?
This is what I'm saying.
Leadership, lack of transformational leadership.
Yes.
Where transformational leadership is defined as what?
Defined as leading the people to become independent so that they can get their own food with their own means, shelter, clothing, defense, security, and then preparing the nation to face external challenges or future challenges. That is leadership. Because if we are not able to do all these things ourselves, look, how the animals don't do that. I mean, if you go to the termite world, they have the city, the termites. They have a city about 5 million inhabitants. When you attack them, they will not go and beg the wasps to come and defend them. Or if you attack any species, they go and beg another species. No. So we should be able to organize ourselves in such a way that we can take care of ourselves. Sometimes we may need external help, but it should not be a permanent feature of our lives. That's what I'm trying to say.
So you are basically telling me that even the government that you've been part of was not transformational?
No.
They were not?
No.
Did you make this known to them?
Yes, I mean...
During cabinet meetings, in your memos?
No, I will not say our government is not transformational. But then, I will say that, look, for us to get on, we need science and technology. And even with the, what is the other one? Ghana Beyond Aid, yes. Our ministry, we wrote a blueprint as to what should be done. But then, it was managed by another minister. So there's nothing that you can do. We have to present your views. After all, I was appointed by the president, and if he didn't like you, he can fire you at any time. And I was aware of that. But my point was to do the things that I do as a science minister. Let me tell you one thing that we did, very important. And the president agreed, and which he did, and I give him marks for that. I said that the president needs, apart from the constitutionally mandated institutions that advise the president, for example, CSIR, Academy of Arts and Sciences, they are to advise the president on matters of science and technology. The Minister for Environment Science, he is with him. But then I said we needed a small group called the Presidential Advisory Council on Science, Technology and Innovation. We selected about 12 people from the diaspora and from Ghana. Very top ranked scientists in the world, For example, we got Trevi Olenu, but he works with a company that also does work for NASA. And then, more importantly, Avec Luce, he is a real NASA person. We didn't want them to bring NASA technology, but then to be an inspiration to scientists from here. And then we got others. But unfortunately, it never took off. So I thought that we needed people who could, without any political correlation, to advise the president on how we have to proceed with this science and technology agenda. So these are some of the things that we introduce into the politics. But somehow it doesn't gain traction,
Wow.
And yeah.
So this government has not been transformational. That's
No,
serious.
no. I mean, I have to be honest with you. I'm not criticizing the government or anything. I mean,
But why can't you criticize the government?
No.
If they are wrong.
now I'm not saying that I wrote this thing to target this government to criticize. That has been the case.
No, we are just assessing whether they've been transformational because the rhetoric of the president prior to his election was that he was going to
What
transform
I'm
the
saying
country.
is that we haven't had any transformational leadership since Nkrumah.
Since Kwame Nkrumah.
Yes.
So even Rawlings in 19 years was not transformational.
No, I mean, if Rawlings was transformational, 19 years, we have made it,
But it was under him that you set up the cardio center.
Yeah, but he didn't set it up. He helped, but when I was going to Germany, he was not the head of state. I went when the champion was head of state. Nobody gave me scratch. I went on my own. I studied on my own and came back. Nobody paid my fare or anything. I came back. But he was head of state and he helped. And I'll give him full marks for that. Because the first time I saw him was when he came to commission the center.
This is Rawlings.
Yes, in April 1992. I'd never seen him before. But he helped, told people, Kwasiboche, PV Obin, Atuahoy, and then and his wife, Nana Kwadu, they all helped. And I give them full marks for that. And the equipment was bought by Germany. I put out the building myself. But he allowed these things to happen. So we should not say Rawlings set you up or he brought you. No, that's what people say.
No, I'm just saying, but you're playing that apart from Kwame Nkrumah, we've not had
Yes.
a transformational
No.
leader.
No.
So even Kufuor was not transformational.
No.
So your standard for transformation is very high.
Very,
You're
very
talking
high.
like Lee Kuan Yew, from third
Yeah.
world to first world type of transformation.
I mean, I said it. You know what he said? When he became, he was 30 something. He said, look, we saw the greed and decadence in Asia, Southeast Asia, and we had a sense of mission not to be part of that thing. So from the very beginning, he said it. And so, working with science and technology, he was able to propel Singapore from third world scholar to this affluence in 25 years.
25 years?
Yes. You know, Lee Kuan Yew was in Ghana.
Yeah,
You know that?
I know.
Yes, and you know what he said? He came here after they had a meeting they were in Lagos, Nigeria, to discuss the Rhodesian crisis. And then he jumped here to visit Nkrumah. And it was Kobudisa who met him at the airport. He came home the next day. He took him to his nightclub somewhere, I don't know where it is now. And he saw the ministers dancing, enjoying themselves. And then, so after 3 days, he told Nkrumah that despite your cocoa and your Kosovo Dam, if you don't take care, this country will not make it. This was 1963. I'm not saying it. Lee Kuan Yew said it. So we have to be serious that there's a fight to be fight. We have to leave a legacy for our children and grandchildren. Otherwise, they'll be slaves in their own country. You imagine we are borrowing so much money from the Chinese and so on. I mean, a time will come, debt to GDP ratio is now close to 100%. A time will come, they will demand their money. If you are not able to pay, they will take some of your assets and be here for about 1,000 years. And
So you think that if Nkrumah had not been overthrown, we probably would have made more progress as a country?
Oh yes. Not only that, you can overthrow him, but then don't destroy the things that he did. I can tell you, look, Nkrumah set up the Academy of Sciences. That became the CSIR and the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. And then he set up institutions, scientific institutions, divided the Institute of Sciences into two things: Institute for Technology and Institute for Applied Sciences. The Applied Sciences was going to be practical to do things. NRC came and they disrupted all these things, cancelled everything.
So why did you join the NPP then? Because
What?
they are the same people, aren't they? The people who overthrew Nkrumah are the same party
I don't
that.
know. They are not-
No, you know.
It's NLC that overthrew
the
Nkrumah, not
NLC
the MPP.
The antecedents of the MPP are NLC people.
I don't think so.
Oh, please. That's
I don't know
this is
about
common
that.
knowledge.
No, I-
Nkrumah's opponents were members of the UP tradition. So they were very, so the UP tradition were very
No,
very supportive of the NLC.
No.
So I'm just asking, is that not a contradiction? So
It's
to
not a
say
contradiction.
Nkrumah was the great transformational leader,
Yes.
you come to Ghana to work as a cardiothoracic scientist, you want to join a political party to do politics, and you join a party that overthrew Nkrumah.
No, don't say that. I will not say
But that's the
NPP.
fact.
No, well, how do you prove that? I mean, I
I
know
mean, history is very clear.
No, NSC overthrew Nkrumah.
But the NLC was very close to the party that Buzia then founded.
Well, I don't know, but
That's very clear.
point is,
Everybody knows this.
For me, it was one thing. I mean, Nkrumah declared one-party state. That it was distasteful to me. And also, as a kid, my grandfather. I mean, I grew up. My grandfather was a big UP person, so more or less we followed them. But then, when I grew up,
No, but I'm saying that UP was very opposed to
No, but
Nkrumah
you see, it
in
doesn't-
everything.
it doesn't matter.
They wanted federalism. He wanted a different type of
it
government.
it doesn't matter. But
It matters.
Look, you see, the thing is that NPP or that tradition, NPP tradition, is the one that I believe in rule of law, elections, fundamental human rights, and so on. So these were the things. And
At
so,
the time?
At the time.
Okay.
At the time. That was why I'm there. But if you want to develop this country, you can't forget what Nkrumah did.
So the mistake they made was that they threw away the baby with the bathwater.
Exactly.
They overthrew the man and cancelled his ideas.
Now, let me tell you, a history of Academy of Arts and Sciences. GAEC, Ghana Atomic Energy Commission.
Yeah.
Nkrumah wanted the Ghana Reactor Project. So he started the Ghana Reactor Project. He got the Russians, the UDSSR, the Soviet
USSR.
Union, to help us. And so they built the reactor, and they had almost finished. And they were bringing in the core to start the thing. And then the coup came. When the coup came, NLC invited a gentleman, John Douglas Cockcroft, who came and said that, look, this reactor is not important. Nkrumah wanted to train scientists and to get the reactor also to produce isotopes for use in hospitals and elsewhere. And then later on, get researchers, scientists who will be in a position to run a nuclear reactor capable of producing electricity for Ghana. So that would take years. So Cockcroft said, oh no, Akosombo is there, you have enough power, so there's no need for this reactor. But Nkrumah did not say that from the very beginning. He wanted to produce nuclear energy. He said, introduce nuclear sciences, train sciences, research reactor, get isotopes for use in the hospital, and look at other uses of peaceful uses of nuclear energy. And then this man was saying, oh, and so NLC too, they agreed. It was in 1973, that's me, Bernard. It's very interesting. 1973, when the Champon came and then commissioned another professor in Cape Coast to look at it. They said, look, we should go ahead and do it. And then they started again. In 1976, we were going on. And then the coup came in 1979. So the whole thing stopped again. Until 1995, when we came again and then signed an agreement with the Chinese to build a small reactor. The original one was 2,000 kilowatt. What we have now is 34 kilowatt. We will not be able to do anything. So really, after 1976, it was only in 1995, 2017, that we really had something that one could say is a nuclear, experimental nuclear reactor. So this is what I'm saying, that we destroyed, and the factories that is set up, most of them were destroyed, set up, sold and things like that. You don't throw the baby, what do you say?
With the bathwater.
Yeah.
We'll come back. This is still point of view. We're talking to Professor Frimpong Boateng. Very interesting ideas. He's mentioned Singapore. There are 3 other countries he mentions. We'll try and see what we can learn from them. And then what else he has for the next president. Whether he will be that person, we'll find out. Stay with us.
How do I cope with this heat?
By staying 5 degrees cooler.
Body odor is caused by germs, and on hot days, the sweating and the odor are more. That's why you need to get the new improved Dettol Cool Soap, which offers up to 5 degrees instant cooling sensation.
This advert is FDA approved.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Just close the doors, and you're in a world of your own. Travel is not just about the destination, it's also about how you get there. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
Finally, anyone can become a house owner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You Go Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated prizes, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.yougoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. You Go Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
Welcome back. Still on the Point of View guest, Professor Frimpong Boateng, more like his reflections on the theory of transformational change in national development in a letter he wrote. Prof, so you mentioned Singapore, but you also mentioned China.
Yes. Very
And
interesting.
what's the most succinct lesson we can pull from the Chinese story?
Again, science, technology. China had science. I mean, even before 1983, they had built the atomic bomb, they could build ships and so on. But then, 1983, something happened. 4 weapon scientists approached Deng Xiaoping, the leader, said, look, if we don't stop this militarization that is happening in North Korea and apply the civilian utilization of technology, we'll be left out. And he says, well, go ahead. So then they set up scientific institutions, which we have, and then went into a lot of issues, areas, and then after some time they started building all the things that we see. I mean, 2003, you didn't have any, let's say, solar panel, wind energy production. But now, China is the #1 producer of wind turbines and also solar energy in many areas. So if you set up institutions focused, there are talented people in the universities or CSIR. And let me tell you something, maybe I'm sure I've said it. And Nkrumah said that, look, he talked to the universities, he said, look, we have to use CSIR for their facilities, for your research. CSIR has a lot of farms and things, and then now the universities are also trying to set up their own farms. If you have students who are doing agriculture, why don't you send them to CSIR facilities? And they will also get people who are doing practical things and not theory. So the Chinese set up institutions, research institutions, got the things done, and that's where they are.
And also that's in less than 30 years.
Less than
Because
30 years,
you're
yes.
talking about 1986.
Yes.
So you've spoken about Lee Kuan Yew, 25 years, China, less than 30 years. What about Korea, South Korea?
Korea had their problems, political problems. General Park was a dictator, but then they were focused. They did research and focused on certain areas. The SCD, technology, and now they are leading in television, mobile phones,
Cars.
automobile cars,
They
and
are
so
the
on.
13th largest
economy in the world,
A country that had the same GDP as Ghana at independence.
So we can, look, the thing is that we have to do it now. 30 million people, if we waste time, we miss an opportunity, and we are 50 million with this type of technology or with no technology and so on, we are going to be in trouble. That's why I'm saying that something must be done now. And I'm appealing to
You didn't give any black country example. The last was US, and it troubles me. So you have Singapore, China, South Korea, and the US. Yes, some are in the global south, but it's mostly east and west.
Yeah.
There was no Middle East, there was no Africa. So the problem could be much deeper than the Ghana problem, is it not?
They were looking up to us.
The other African countries were looking up to us.
No, the black race.
We're looking up to Ghana.
Look at what Martin Luther came here. When we had independence, President Nixon, who was the vice president, he came here. They were all coming here to see what we were doing, Nkrumah was doing. It is not lost. Let's get things done. Respect ourselves. Stop blatant corruption, deception, and political projects. You know, a lot of things are politically tainted. We have to stop all these things, and then that's why we see some traditional rulers will say, "Oh, come and build university in my area." And Nkrumah never thought about that. He was thinking about, for example, when he wanted a training institution to train technical teachers, he put it in Kumasi. You know, so he was thinking about the whole nation, what is good for us, not what is good for my area. You know.
So you think that, but that's a consequence of our politics, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. So that even people in authority, you know, will promise traditional leaders, "Oh, don't worry, we'll come and build an university in your area." I mean, that is wrong.
But then, Prof, based on what you've said, the letter you've written to the next president is dead on arrival because the mechanism by which he would use to win the election is political patronage. So if he's not a Lee Kuan Yew who has a long tenure, he's not a General Park, he's obviously not a Deng Xiaoping. So if he's going to campaign and promise things, there's no way it's going to be transformational.
This is what I'm saying, that if it's not transformational, there is also show. We'll continue to wallow in poverty, we can't stabilize the city, people are going to be poor, there'll be unrest, and one day, you know, this is what I'm afraid of. The young people, the soldiers may, you know, the young people will jump on us. And
but can a president elected with this system be transformational? That's my question. The system is based on political patronage. It's based on paying delegates to vote for you. It's
Yes.
based on promising fantastic infrastructure projects, some of which don't make sense. So how can you win elections like that and come and transform anything?
Yes. So when you get there, you know, I mean, this is what I would say, yes.
So lie away and get there. When you get there, you change.
No, when you get there, be clean yourself. That I'm not going to be part of anything that is.
After people sold their houses to get you to win?
Yes. I mean, they can do legitimate business. I'm telling you. I mean, they can do legitimate business. If they want loans or something, they can do their business. But you, as the leader, should be clean and be prepared to leave power after 4 years. Do the right thing, and the people will see that maybe this is how we have to go. Set an example. You and your family. Set an example.
So who are you going to vote for in 2024?
Me?
Yeah.
I have not decided yet.
You haven't decided?
No, because it's fluid now. But what I don't like is an attempt to buy votes. Force people in a certain direction. If you do that, it's a testimony to the weakness of the candidate that you are supporting.
Can MPP win the election?
Which one? Which election?
2024.
Why not? But it will be difficult.
Because they overpromised and they've underdelivered.
That's a fact. But it will be difficult. But everything is possible. And you see, the NDC too is not giving me. That's why I wrote this letter. What shows that. Let me tell you something. When I was in government, we started. I said, look, the way this NDC has mismade the thing, underperformed and so on, we are going to work hard to help the president so that for 40 years, the NPP will be there and there will be no romantic ideas about the NDC again. And now look at where we are. People are talking about Mahama and this thing. It shows you where, that's all my worry, I thought it would work and there will be nobody will have any romantic ideas about Mahama and NDC coming back. But now...
when you look at it, it's like there's a certain romanticization of the Mahama era.
Yes.
Which tells you the way people perceive this government.
Yeah, so that is why there should be a change in the two political parties, how they do their things. I'm sure there are very good people in the NDC, very good people in the NPP. I think they should rebel and try to set
Do
up.
you think there are enough good people in the two parties to come together to form a third force?
No. There are a lot of people outside these two parties
Outside the two parties?
who are good.
But who's going to mobilize them?
Maybe you can, or somebody.
So was your letter meant to galvanize that type?
No, to advise Ghanaians.
Because it looks like a third party manifesto, what you actually put up.
No, I didn't have a third party in mind, but what I'm saying is that this was
Or an alternative to the duopoly.
If Ghanaians want it that way, they can still do it.
Can the duopoly be broken?
Why not? Everything is possible on earth.
Because they've had a stranglehold on our Fourth Republic for 30 years.
Yes.
And they've given it stability, but not progress.
Where is the stability?
There's been no coup in 30 years.
No, that is not stability. I mean, stability is when people are satisfied. When national satisfaction index, I don't remember that thing, Mongolia or that country up there, when they do the national happiness index. If you conduct a national happiness index and Ghanaians are satisfied, that's where the stability is. Not when there's an absence of coup. Just like health, it's not due to the absence of disease, or infirmity.
It's well-being.
Well-being, total well-being.
So as our country is not in a good shape.
Not only the well-being of the individual, but the well-being of your plants, your animals, and all creatures in the sea and everywhere. That is total health.
If somebody said you should lead that change as a presidential candidate, will you do it?
Who is that body who is telling me to
I'm
do
telling
it?
you.
No, I mean, our advice,
Because in 2007 you said you wanted to be president. Have you lost that desire?
No, I said I didn't say I wanted to be president. I wanted to be part of a system.
You ran for MPP flag bearer.
Yes, but not for the fact that I want to be president.
To change Ghana.
Yes.
So do you want to be president to change Ghana?
I'm doing all these things so that Ghana will change. Ghanaians will change the attitude. As I said, the fight ahead of us is bigger than the fight for political
Are
independence.
you prepared to lead that change?
I mean, writing this means that I want to see a change, but not to say, oh, yes, Frimpong Boateng, I want to be president. No.
Now, what if I suggest to you that you are that man?
You say yes to me.
Yes.
Who are you?
Like the prophet said to David, you are that man.
Okay, unless you convince me that you are somewhere.
It wasn't someone who told him. It was a seer. It was David's personal prophet when he did the Bathsheba sin. But that's the little Bible study.
No.
He said, you are that man.
No.
No,
Okay, that was Nathan.
Yes, I'm talking about Nathan telling me you are that man.
Nathan.
Not someone anointing him, because someone was David's mentor. I'm not your mentor.
No. So Nathan, I mean, did something when David has sinned.
Yes, and then
but I'm not saying. So you to come and tell me you are a person.
I say you are that man that will lead us.
Yeah.
Prof. Boateng has been very interesting to talk to. I urge you to go online to City Newsroom and read the article. We've shared it on our website. It's well thought through, and the argument is very similar to the argument he made in his inaugural lecture. He says Ghana needs a technology-driven transformation. That's the only hope. And whoever will become president in 2025 must tell us how they intend to do this. We agree with him. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.